how that worked out.
What years was that from, as far as D&D?
I think D&D might have been 94 or 96, somewhere in there.
Okay. Talk a little bit about your discography and some of your placements. I know you've worked with the likes of MOP. Talk about the track and some of the other artists you work with as far as producing.
Um, yeah, MOP and boot camp and a couple of different situations. I was more focusing on trying to get artists done and signed, that I knew. So a lot of tracks were kind of geared towards them. But the MOP thing was really because we were doing our album and um, we are doing our album and I had a hook that I needed them to do. So at the same time, I said, well, listen, we got the hook, whatever the deal is. And they came and knocked it out. And I said, well, if you hear anything on this beat tape back then let me know. And they got back to me, said they were doing foundation. They want to do foundation. I'm saying to myself, well, all this hard stuff that y'all been doing, how does foundation fit into this? I gave y'all other different, different types of tracks, and I'm trying to figure out how foundation actually fit in. Excuse me. So they said, I said, all right, I'm not gonna question it anymore. Sure. So gave the foundation, laid it down in D&D. They did their vocals at some point when I was not there, and then they were finishing up their album. But once again, I think Q and I were out at the time. Repertoire was running, so that was playing, that was spinning, and we were doing all our promo stuff and all our regular stuff. And I think we were in France or something like that, and we couldn't get back, and they had to turn in the album, I think to Loud. So I didn't honestly get to mix the song. So I think Lay's their manager, something like that. I think he ended up mixing the song, and that's kind of why that sounds a little different than anything that I've produced. I've usually produced, I've tracked, I've everything down the line, and I'm involved with the tweaking of the frequencies. Excuse me.
No, you good.
And all of that. So that kind of was a little bit uncomfortable for me at the time because again, I know how it's supposed to sound. So not to say that it sounded bad, but
Right.
it just didn't sound like me. So I said, all right, it was whatever it was, and let that be that. And as far as boot camp was concerned, I think I just ran into them, and by this time I advanced to beat CDs now. So no more beat tapes. We're now on beat CDs. So I gave them a beat CD of something, and they ended up picking something that was kind of again not really their kind of style. So I was like, okay, here we go. So with dealing with them, I think they recorded the whole thing over the beat CD that I had because it was I used to do my beat CDs pretty clean. So they did it. I was engineering it. So however, and they recorded. So I had to come into the studio and lay it down exactly how they had done it. They restructured some things and just edited some things at the time and changed the arrangement of how I had it. So I had to come in and lay it down exactly like that, which I did. But they ended up using the beat off my beat tape. So it was like I was like, all right, I could have saved that trip, but regardless, y'all did what y'all had to do. And I didn't even know where what the situation was. We had squared off the business and everything like that. But just one day I'm riding down to D&D and I'm listening to the radio and it comes on. And I'm like, actually, that sounds like it. I never came in to mix the song. So what did they use? They actually used the actually from the CD. So I was like, all right, rock on, rock on.
Wow. Such a monumental studio. What are some of your best memories? Whether it was Biggie coming through or some of the other artists, what are some of your best memories of D&D?
Honestly, just mostly camaraderie because if I wasn't in both rooms, then probably Beat Miners was in there. Premier was in the other room. I'd sneak in there every now and then, chat with him real quick. He'd be doing what he's doing. Um, and the lounge. I mean, this is one of the places where hood could be hood. and get things done. And people used to come there, and that's how a lot of those collabs got done, because people were just there, and then they come there, and then all of a sudden it would turn into a collab or a feature. I don't think we even called it features back then, but they would just be there. I mean, one minute, Fat Joe would walk in, and one minute Remy Ma. I think I had my daughter there one time. She was young, and Remy Ma and Fat Joe walked in, and she was like, "Hey, they're out there." I was like, "Oh yeah, you're not supposed to be here in the first place." So, but they were out there. Everybody was just coming through, so you could vibe with them. And it wasn't like nobody was pitching anybody anything. If you wanted something from me, you can just come and tell me, and you get it. And but nobody was soliciting, as they would call it. Um, so it was just a vibe. They came there, they smoked, they drank, they did what they wanted to do, and that was that. And that was organic for the most part. That was organic. And whoever came through to do their session, it was that kind of vibe. Whereas like the other studios would either have different floors or blockouts, things like that. Where no artist would really run into each other. This was like once you got buzzed up, you're in the fishbowl,
Mhm.
and you go by the pool table, go in the lounge room, and you just do what you would do at your man's house. Just hang out, sit down, drink, smoke, whatever was happening. I didn't smoke. I had a couple of drinks here and there, but I didn't. I was too fearful of forgetting what I was doing.
Right.
Excuse me.
Now, once that studio closed, you end up moving it to your house.
Yeah, I think I took the A room board and moved that out to the house. Had the basement lower floor done. I wired actually the manager from D&D at the time. I actually paid for him to come out, and he wired up everything exactly how it was supposed to be. I had the big Uris, the big speakers, because we were supposed to do something else at another location, but I ended up buying the ones below it, just below that, as my references at that point. So, because those other big ones would have been too big.
Mm.
But I had enough space to do the whole thing. It's just those things are humongous. So, so yeah, once you wired up all that, I had the tape deck, the tape machine rather, and everything. But then the technology changed, so I ended up getting Pro Tools, and the machine just sat there for the most part. I tried to do some transfers, but then a couple of glitches with the machine because of lack of use. Those things used to act up as it was. So then I just started doing most of the Pro Tools stuff from there, and yeah, and that was the initial sound of that board going through.
Mm. What are some of the projects that you produced at your house? Some of the artists that you worked with.
Most of the stuff that I did from there, everything evolved into a different situation, as opposed to because we were able to send vocals out or send beats out and things like that. So a lot of things I did over there, I did a lot of overseas projects over there. Started getting more into the QNC stuff over there, um, because all the other stuff would either be done at the studios that everybody else was, dealing with at the time. Because that's when everybody now started establishing which places they preferred to go to, and how they wanted to do it. And it was a lot easier to just do that than be sitting around in there all the time. So I just made it more of a production studio than anything. And I just used the board for the warmth and all of that. And that's one heavy ass board.
Now, talk a little bit about the projects you've done as far as QNC. I know you said during the D&D days, you kind of put song on the back burner for a minute. At what point do you guys get serious and start putting out projects?
Once we did the tremendous thing, we had already had a couple of tracks done, and we did an independent release, which is the My Kind of Moves and the Making Moves, two singles, and those were actually where we got an idea. That's when Wu was putting out their stuff, and we decided, we're just gonna put our stuff out too, and we realized what the comeback was, on doing your own. Except that when you back then, you had to everything had to work kind of perfectly, and a couple of manufacturers kind of jammed us up. The first one especially kind of jammed us up on the first. We didn't have what we were supposed to have available because they messed up the labels or some kind of craziness. So while we were servicing all the mom and pop shops, we ended up running out of vinyl. And by the time the vinyl could get remanufactured, the vibe had changed, and the demand had changed. So it was different. So next time around, we had used disc makers, and disc makers we ordered more. Turned out it worked out a whole lot better, and we actually had a reorder, and that turned out a much better. So once we got that feel, then that was what was happening. And then we decided just to start doing more tracks. So that was more of an EP, the first joint that we did, but I just had tracks done. So I said, let's just do it. We'll move on and go, from there. Again, I wasn't really necessarily trying to be an MC per se, but it was it was clicking at that point, and we were getting our flow. So I just went with it. Um, so, and then once we got to the situation with after Tremendous, um, I know that I was doing our tracks and doing our tracks, and it was looking for that one track that I wanted to do for us specifically, and that's how repertoire came about. And I think actually I because I had done the remix with Jay-Z and Sauce Money and Jazz. Uh, I think Jay kind of gave us the okay with that one to do the repertoire, so that was helpful, no less. Um, So it's like so many roundabout kind of situations because of again relationships. And if you're going up in D and you're gonna act like a fool, then that's your wasted opportunity.
Right.
But if you're a human being, you know how to behave. Even though this is hip hop, you know how to behave. You can forge some relationships, and um, you know, unfortunately, the streets are the streets, and hip hop is based from the streets, on the streets, about the streets, and you got some street cats that'll come in and do street stuff. So there's that. But otherwise, most of the cats figured out that, this is an opportunity to do something. Let me run with this. Uh, Unfortunately, I think it turned out that I think Duck Down and them did not record at D&D any further for whatever reason. And but the Beat Miners still made it their home as well. So kind of crazy how that worked out. But yeah, that's how repertoire ended up coming about, and we were in the middle of doing the album once that was like, because I was like, this is the one I was looking for. But I also had these songs that had some of these samples that were just they're like, are you serious? Are you serious about this sample? And I'm like, well, it's the vibe of the song. I can't do anything about it. I could switch it, but what happens then? So you put all those things together.
Now, what was the name of that album and what year did it drop?
That was actually supposed to be a dynamic duo, but at that time, I forgot what happened with that. That was with V2, the Virgin not subsidiary, but the Virgin sister uh deal, and I'm not sure what their deal was at the time, but they were spending money and some odd monies. So I'm not sure. I can't remember what happened with that situation, but we got halfway or so in the deal and into the album, and then that whole thing kind of folded. Um, and we ended up releasing it just as a license through a UK label, um, but just in its form for the most part, in its exact form, rather than try to pull new songs and add to it. And now you got these different vibes and different sounds, and I sound like I'm 12 here, and it sounds like I'm 40 there, and these kind of things. So we just let it be how it was as we did it, and that was that.
How did you guys link up with AIM for 2015's The Habit of a Lifetime?
Um, because of the relationship with Grand Central and Mark Ray, uh, they were commissioned to do the remix of a European remix of Tremendous. So once they did that, we had to come over to do the long lost video of Tremendous, and they did their version of it, and we kind of vibed again because me and Q were not the troublemaking group. We come through, do business, but we also just are cool. So our personality is a little bit different than everybody else's, so we don't necessarily have reputations like that. So we linked up with Mark Ray. We ended up doing the song for I think it was supposed to be his album at the time, and as well as doing something else for him. based off of what we did with the not the Mystique, yeah, with the Mystique thing. So we did something else for him and on his Spellbound album, I believe it was called, and that's just again relationships, and we ended up going out there and doing a bunch of shows and for about a month or so. Um, so that's how that everything leads to another. Once break any glass in anybody's house, you're good to go. But if you're gonna act up, then you probably that relationship won't be helpful.
All right. Talk about your EP, how it all got started.
Once AIM broke away, I guess from the whole Grand Central situation, he reached out to us. It's like, listen, I like to do something with you guys. Um, where I can do, the production and stuff, and send you, and we'll work, across the pond. And I was like, you know what? The force was pretty good. It was popular out there. It was popular in Europe and stuff, and it had a different sound. So I'm like, cool. I mean, I don't have to do every track, so let's do it. And I don't think I really did anything, it wasn't as painful as I thought, but I went with the vibe that was given to me, rather than demanding it go in this direction or that direction. It was just a creative outlet. So, I ended up doing the two remixes, but only because, he said, but hold two remixes aside because you were going to end up doing that. So I said, all right, that's fine with me. I'll just keep running. We'll, do tracks that you've done, and I'll just do, the remixes at a time.
Right. Catch us up on what Curt has been up to over the past couple of years and what we can look forward to in the future.
Um, Honestly, the last couple of years after I moved, bought another house, what ended up happening, I had to redo the lower floor again, to build out a studio. And in between that time, I probably about 2 years. I had no board. I had no equipment up. I had no facility basically. So I was making a lot of notes, and I bought like an MPC 500 because I thought this idea I was going to be sitting outside with this little thing, and I bought it because it was just so MPC. But then I realized it only had 12 pads, and I realized it kind of late. So I was like, I can't adjust from 16 pads to 12 pads, so this might not work. So it stayed there. I used it a half a time, and I don't know what I did with it. And then I ended up being able to draw up the plans for the lower floor, get a board shipped over, all this sort of thing, get everything together. And I was not able to do anything during those couple of years. It probably was a year and a half. Um, but I still was doing features and stuff like that with Q. We do some vocal features and stuff like that as best we could. And I tried to get the studio bit up and running as fast as I could. Actually, once I did, then I actually had to kind of figure out where I was because things were changing. I was always listening to everything, seeing how everything was changing, what it sounded like, rather than be stuck in a zone and watching, just watching and keeping abreast of how things were changing. So I was ready to go when it was time. And once that happened, I got my stuff back up and I was off and running. But I realized that I had to figure out how I was going to do it again, how not necessarily do it again, but how I was going to apply it, because I had been off for that amount of time, and how I was going to you know what was my sound going to be, all these kind of things. And I gotta tell you, it was kind of challenging to try to figure it out. But at the time, you don't know something's challenging until you look back at it, and then you realize that was quite a task. um and then they came out with a machine called the MPC 1, and I said, I'm gonna get this. I don't know what it does, but my MPC 2000 is cool, and I love it to death. I'm always gonna, but I don't want to be tied to the studio all the time. So I ended up getting it, and it changed how I was able to do things. I was able to do things in places I normally wouldn't do it, even though I could have gotten the live and all that. But at the time, I just wanted to see how this new vibe was running because I was used to the MPC. So I had to kind of restructure my sound, restructure the sound, and ended up catching the flow And as for right now, we're still doing a QNC project. Excuse me. And I'm doing some consulting with D&D, working with DJ Eclipse on a couple of things, and I'm also almost done, I think, with the NOG album. I'm doing that right now. Actually, I think I'm waiting for vocals from him. So we just did a couple. We did one with he and Sadat. I did, and I think we're supposed to be doing one with him and Master Ace. So it's like a couple of things we try. I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to be speaking about this, but we're in the middle of doing that right now, and doing features as usual for overseas. A couple of license things I'm going to do for a DJ that I've been using actually to do some scratches on some of the stuff that I've been working on now. DJ Robert Smith. So we're about to drop the vocals for his joint this week that I'm producing. So different sounds, different things happening, but it's better because now the kind of stuff that I want to do for like, I especially kind of sought out Ed OG because Edo has his style and he's pro this and he's in the mix with that vibe, and I have beats for that vibe and could really that's not our thing. So as much as I want to be somebody like that, you just don't get up in the morning and decide you're gonna be that person. So um trying to finish up our stuff, like I said, which is taking longer than ever, and doing those features and then doing that project right there. And then I think we're doing something. I don't know if I can speak about that either, but something for D&D. That's
Mm.
going to be a collab that I ended up having vocals for someone that is no longer with us, but uh, got him in his prime, sounding pretty good. So there's a collab I'm doing with that. So right now I just been cooking constantly, and I just took a break about a week ago, and then I got sick a little bit. So it was like I was down, but I was still on the machine though. I was still on the machine.
Right.
Um, but now I definitely have a more comfortable feel of the sound, and then the sound changed, and the sound that's changed into something that now I'm like, wait a minute, this is my thing. So I'm like, I can do this pretty easily here. So I'm running how to the sound, the soul sound is going, um, and stuff like that. I always wanted to do that kind of stuff, but now it's like the Wild West with this kind of thing. So I'm intrigued with that. So I'm doing that as well. Trying to cover a couple of grounds.
Right. For the supporters who want to know any new tracks or any things with the JVC Force in the future.
Um, hmm, I'm gonna say no. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna say no.
For the supporters who have been down with Curt since day one, any last words going into the future?
um, there's a couple of things that are cooking right now. Um, and I'm probably at a better in a better zone now. Now to figure out a lot more things, and the tools are a little bit different. I won't be singing in the microphones and having the computer make up beats for me or anything like that. But I got a different. I have the same flow, but a little bit a different refinement. So anything you're going to hear now from me, it's going to be according to that artist. And there's going to be some treats that definitely will be out. Some vinyl exclusive stuff, and then maybe some digital stuff as well. And it's gonna be something that you'd expect from me, but just a little bit more refined. We actually Q was supposed to come here today, but I had something going on and work going on at the house, so he was banging away outside and making too much noise, so we couldn't do no vocals today. So we're gonna finish the vocals for something that I'm pretty excited about actually tomorrow. Then he's coming back. We have to do vocals for the DJ Robert Smith thing. I'm waiting for Ed to kind of finish sending me these other vocals so I can mix this other song down in the next couple of days. So I'm in kind of in different zones at the same time. And it hurts my head. So, so, because yeah, the two different sounds. So it's like, yeah, yeah. So
Any,
that's happening.
any other avenues outside of music you're looking to explore?
I think I explore too many as it is. I just want to chill. I think Large Professor said that. I honestly just want to chill and just be part of the art, that I've been part of all this time, and watch it kind of. I don't want to say revert, but kind of get a grip of the reality of it all. I can't say it's salacious or it's anything like that, but I do think that it should be more global as it was. Unfortunately, that was carried by the shiny suits and such. But we're in a different zone right now, and it may get away from us. And there's a lot of nice guys out there. There's no question. There's a lot of young new dudes. Not a lot, but it's quite a couple of new dudes that I definitely want to get involved with for sure. The Griselda boys are something else. They're a few that are really doing it like that. And there's always the rest. There's always the Nas's, and there's always the Woo boys and all that. There's a lot of people are still nice, and there's a couple of new cats. So that's just what it. But mostly, you want to take away from anything. It's just I just want to chill, but I do want to keep hard beats coming, no doubt.
Absolutely, and we enjoy them. Curt, I want to thank you for everything you've done for the culture and everything you continue to do. Before we get out of here, can you shout out your social media?
Yeah, it's I think I'm still on X at Curt Cazal, Curt_Cazal, and on IG at Curt_IG. I just never really been the social media guy, which I should be more of, but I'm just so deep in the trenches that I probably have to hire somebody to do it at this point. Now I got this zone that I'm trying to work with, so that might be the deal.
No doubt. That is the legendary Curt Cazal. I am the journalist Sin-seer, and this has been History Lessons. Thank you so much, Curt.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Peace indeed.